I now would like to invite the first speaker, Professor John Goodacre, Challenge Director for Digital Security by Design at UK Research and Innovation.
Thank you and welcome. So what I'm going to do here is basically introduce the technologies, or the program itself as opposed to the technologies. But first, let's look at really, the world that we all live in. So clearly over the years, digital technologies have been becoming more and more ubiquitous in society, both in terms of things we hold and use, in terms of the mobiles, the things we see, but also lots of devices that we don't see. So all the ones that are running the critical infrastructures, the clouds, and the things like that. So really, you can ask yourself the question, is it a case that actually we're heading towards a cyber disaster? Because if you think about where we're coming from, we've had sort of the fairly popular, desktops and servers running a limited number of operating systems. They've really matured what the mechanisms and the approach they take to maintaining patches, keeping things secure. But in this world of diversity, we're also diversifying the number of vendors, the different locations, the different places that will actually be delivering these. And clearly, not everybody is the size of a Microsoft in terms of being able to handle patch distribution and things. So really, it's a bit of a problem on its way. So cybersecurity today, really, you can look at various aspects of it. You can look at really, it's focused on the mitigations of keeping up with those patches. And unfortunately, the primary responsibility is pretty much falling on the users of that software. So it's the point of use. It's, the security comes in at the point of use of those systems. And it's very disruptive, costly, and really, there's no defense against a flaw in the system. So the idea that, the system is perfect and obviously you just make sure that only the right people get access isn't, unfortunately, the world we live in. That's really come to a head because technology has been developed during a period where the performance and cost are more important than cybersecurity. So, it's obviously not the case now because there's a hugely increasing need for businesses to really start asking the questions. Is what I'm getting delivered being designed with security in mind? Is it a default configuration that I get which is secure, or do I have to go through a long set of configurations to actually secure that product? And then really those vendors that are then building those products start asking themselves the questions, is the technology I'm using itself secure? Can it provide features by their actual design in which they can protect? So please start thinking about those sort of questions when selecting and deploying new software solutions. And really, that comes to a head when you start seeing what the point of view cybersecurity tools of today promise. They say how to prevent security vulnerabilities. Obviously, I've tried to hide the actual company here, but it's not unusual to actually go around a cybersecurity event, everybody saying, buy this tool and you will be secure. We can prevent those vulnerabilities. Well, vulnerabilities are like mistakes, whether or not they are configuration and human mistakes or the mistakes in the way that software is written. So lots of questions that you should be asking when people claim that they're going to make you secure with their latest monitoring tool. So why does DSbD as a program exist? Well, really, we can go back to about 2018 when the UKRI, the Research and Innovation Agency, the government asked basically industry, what's your challenge that the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund could help solve? And that's really where Arm and other partners got together and said, look, actually, there's a failure in the market. What this basically means is that hardware vendors can't change things that make software not compatible anymore. So yes, they can add features, they can create new capabilities within the process, but to fundamentally change something in the middle, basically wasn't able to just simply flow through the business as usual supply chain. And that took the attention of the UK government, and by 2019, there was a programme that was announced called Digital Security by Design. And really the vision for Digital Security by Design is all about overcoming those market failures and radically update the foundation at the centre of those digital computing infrastructures. So in other words, it's the first time that really that we're aware of that the programme has started right at the beginning of something that hasn't really changed for multiple decades. The people were seeing problems back in the 70s with the way that computers had been discovered, if you like, or invented, I suppose a better word. So what we did was create a delivery plan for this. We split it up across what we call the enabling technology, the actual introduction. That's where we'll be hearing from Robert and Richard in terms of what the technology looked like. We'll then have the technology sector itself, those that are actually going to be building the products and services, and obviously the technology access program that we're going to be talking about again today lives there. But a further part of the program has actually been working with the industrial sector, if you like, the end users, for them to sort of look at how that technology can impact the way that they do business and bring better secure products to their end customers. So the biggest part of this, and again, Richard will be talking about the Morello program in much more detail, was the creation of a hardware prototype that could actually be used to research and understand the impact and the cost and the benefits of introducing this fundamental research change. If we're making such a fundamental change, however, there's a lot of questions that come up. There's the questions that go right to the root of software design. There's questions in software verification, historical decisions in how virtual machines work, how the cloud works. You know, basically, we gave the academic community in the UK an opportunity to go and actually say, okay, you can have early access to this, see what shakes out in terms of any fundamental changes and enablement. We'll hear obviously more about the technology access program for the technology sectors, in addition to what the research community have been doing. The other part of cybersecurity is obviously the social aspects. We can't ignore that technology doesn't just exist. Okay, it exists in an ecosystem. It exists with adopters and stakeholders that need to select and use it. So actually a major part of our program has been both enabling core research into the social and economic aspects of this change, but also to help support and create a new ecosystem, new network around the people involved in creating and realizing these new technologies. The other half of this, so we've got the hardware platform, we've got the social, the third half, if you like, just to make it really difficult in describing, is the software ecosystem itself. So the idea that we have to progress the fundamental building blocks for software, the operating systems, the libraries, the tools, and there's been a couple of programs here. The first competition we had was for a number of SME companies, basically to give them early access and look at what the technology could do for their businesses. It's gave them that insight, and obviously we've probably got a number of such companies on the webinar today. And then another set that's coming specifically at the enablement, the idea that the tools and the environments, the libraries, the information that's required for the broader adoption of these technologies, again, a competition which hopefully is starting next quarter, has been defined within this part of the program as well. And then the final part has been exposing it to the industry sector. The Hut Group, a major e-commerce company, has been looking at what it means to have secure e-commerce using these technologies. And then we've got 4 new ones that were announced just as part of the government's new national cyber strategy that go through networking infrastructure, automotive sector, critical infrastructure, and the data center. So lots of exciting new places that will become interesting to the first adopters of what something that is expected to become ubiquitous across the whole digital ecosystem. So where next? What's next? So obviously we need to extend this discussion. Cybersecurity for decades has been speaking about the best practices, the patch profiles, how often you need to maintain them, the severity of them, the logging of them, but really in essence has done little to stop them and block them. So we need to start looking at how the earlier parts of the value chain, both in terms of manufacturing, can design systems in a way that are more secure by default, but also the technology providers in the way that they can provide technologies which have features which, if you like, by design provide improved security capabilities. So really, that's where we're at. We're starting opening up the visibility of really what could be quite a large step change in what people expect of computers and the trust that they will be able to place in such systems. So I believe what we're going to do next in the agenda is Matt's going to talk a bit more about the world in which we live in, so that we can then understand obviously how the technologies that will be introduced later come to that, and then obviously where we go in the future in terms of providing access to these technology companies to understand these new techniques and how they can overcome any commercial or performance barriers that they may have in understanding how they can adopt security, improve security in their products. Thank you very much.